6 of the 7 SEC matchups this weekend have betting lines of less than a touchdown. What is this? The NFL? Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. On today's show, we'll run through the Week 8 SEC slate with our buddy Chris Marler, get his thoughts on all of the games. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. In today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Welcome in to our buddy Chris Marler, joining us a day earlier this week. What's going on, Marler?
Not much. I'm just waiting on Vandy to get ranked. Rank Vandy, you cowards. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, what is that? I mean, I guess, they did lose to Georgia freaking State, so maybe that is part of it. But no, I think with the AP, they had them as the first team in others receiving votes. So they're technically the 26th best team.
But still, yeah. But other than that, man, things are going like this is, I think we all had October 12th circled for like a while, but October 19th is a really good slate, man.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, and we're going to get into the games, but like pretty wild. Because Marler, think about this: like every week in the SEC, it's typically like minus 15.5, minus 21. Like teams heavy favored, particularly it's been Alabama and Georgia in recent years. But the parity of the league, the bottom dwellers have come up and shown that even if they're all winning games, they can be uber competitive. Mm-hmm. And crazy that 6 of the 7 games in the SEC this week are like I think the biggest line is like 5.5. Like it's wild.
And four of them have moved like it's by at least 1.5 points since the lines came out on Monday. Or on Sunday. So that's pretty big too.
All right, well, let's dive into it. We'll start with the lesser games, and we'll get to the bigger games near the back end. And speaking of lesser, let's start at 11 a.m. Central on ESPN. It is 2-4 Auburn at number 19 Mizzou. Mizzou, a 4.5 point favorite. Eli Drakowitz announcing just the other day that defensive end Joe Moore and linebacker Khalil Jacobs are out for the season. So Mizzou taking a little bit of a hit, but they're sitting here at 5-1. A chance to beat an Auburn team that's not been very good. But for Auburn, man, it's like panic button, womp, womp, womp. Like they need a win in an awful way. What are we thinking here, Marler, as Mizzou sitting at a 4.5 point favorite according to FanDuel?
So, and that line opened at 6 on Sunday. So that's interesting that it's already come down 1.5 points. I will say Hugh Freeze is 9-5 all time as a head coach coming off a bye week. That's against the spread. So I do like that. I mean, Auburn's been close. Like they are not a good football team, but they've been close. I do think Mizzou is overrated. If this game was played in Auburn, I could easily see picking the upset here. I just don't know if I trust Auburn going on the road. It's also not a place they've had to go at all this season. This is only their second game away from Jordan Hare, and it's October 19th, which is insane to me. So I'm taking Mizzou. I don't know about covering the 4.5 points. I do think Mizzou will win, though.
It is interesting, too. Mizzou doesn't really have like a big sack artist. Remember last year was Darius Robinson was awesome. Ended up being a first-round pick. Khalil Jacobs was second on the team with 2 sacks, and now he's out for the season. So really it's only their defensive tackle, Chris McClellan. And it's just interesting. Like you talk about getting pressure and maybe trying to slow down Auburn. I think Auburn needs to lean heavily on Jarquez Hunter. Get that run game going and then be balanced. Then use Peyton Thorne to get the ball into the hands of those receivers. And, of course, limit turnovers. That goes without saying for this Auburn team this year. But, yeah, man, I think this is close to the end. But this is the real, to me, this is Mizzou's point of, is this where you bounce back and show we're going to be a double-digit win team again? Or is this where the spiral starts? Because you're coming off of the blowout loss at A&M, and then, this could be back-to-back losses, and then all of a sudden it's a 7-5, 8-4 season for Mizzou instead of 10, 11 wins.
See, I don't think it'll backslide that much. I will say that now, after how bad they've looked at times, what's crazy to think is that they can end up being a 10-2 team and not even sniff the playoffs because of how bad they looked against A&M. And now they got that, the game against Alabama in 2 weeks. But I do think they'll win. I just think it's going to be a lot closer than people, that might be comfortable with.
Yeah, I had somebody asked me the other day, so what's Mizzou's best win? I said, Vanderbilt. Come on, that's a quality win now. So you're lucky you got Vandy when you did, Mizzou, because they've been red hot lately. How about the other early game at 11:45 Central on the SEC Network? It's 3-3 South Carolina at 4-2 Oklahoma. Oklahoma only about a 1.5 point favorite. I saw Brent Venable said this weekend they could go 2-quarterback system if need be. I mean, again, they are the epitome, Marler, of the line. You got 2 quarterbacks, you got none. They got none.
Yeah. Just flat out, the wrong team is favored. The wrong team, like Norman is making up for this entire line. Oklahoma's offense has been bad. I mean, bad. They're ranked 120th in the country in total yards per game. Like, they are not a good offense. It's not just because Jeff Levy's gone. It's because, like the true freshman, Michael Hawkins, he's not been good. You're also, we talked about it before, you had to replace your entire offensive line. You have like your top 5 receivers have been out for most of the year. It's not a good offensive football team. It's really not that great of a defensive football team. Like, they've got some studs there. Like, Stutzman's really good. Billy Bowman's good. But this South Carolina team, I think what they did last week in Tuscaloosa is going to carry over into this week. And here's the other thing too. Traditionally, Shane Beamer, not a great coach on the road this season. You took Bama down to the wire. And you also had a game against Kentucky where you beat them by 25 points. So that Kentucky game, probably not as impressive as it once was. But I think this is going to be a South Carolina, especially. Like, dude, this is where Shane Beamer thrives. Like, he's going to go on the road against his former team, against to be honest, a brand, like a name brand program that's kind of a shell of itself right now. This is a big win for Shane Beamer.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe. I'm feeling that way. I hate to say it for Oklahoma. I had such high hopes for him coming into the year. I thought Jackson Arnold was going to be good, but you're right. I mean, even the defensive stats, which look good early, are starting to drop because they're playing, they play Texas, and Texas scored a bunch of points. So, and to South Carolina, yeah, they're a couple plays away from beating LSU and Alabama. Mm-hmm. And really, that Ole Miss loss just kind of got away from them with the fake punt and stuff like that. But it's a good South Carolina team with, that's been pretty competitive week in and week out. So I'm vibing with South Carolina right now. We'll see if they can get it done at Oklahoma. And then one more game I wanted to squeeze in here, 3:15 Central on the SEC Network, Marler. It's number 14 Texas A&M at 1-5 Mississippi State. Now, A&M, FanDuel's got them as a 16-point favorite on the road. I saw folks in Starkville, they're tweeting out things saying like, Hail State, we're going to pack the stadium, bring your cowbell, make it loud. I think A&M's been getting a little bit too many roses here through the first few weeks. I feel like everybody's singing their praises, going, oh my God, they're going to make the playoff and all this. And I'm saying, let's pump the brakes. What we saw from the true freshman quarterback last week, Michael Van Buren, to score, 31 points
31.
against Georgia. It's not like Georgia was up by 40 and took the foot on the gas pedal. They kept hanging around, like keeping that thing within a couple scores. I like how this bodes well. And I'm not calling for the full upset just yet, but this feels like to me, because I said last week, I said 1-15, anybody can beat anybody in the SEC except for Mississippi State. And then they did that last week. I don't know, man. Like, the more people start jumping on A&M and they're going to win big and all this, I might be inclined to take Mississippi State by the end of the week.
That sounds dumb, but okay. A&M, I think, is a good football team. They are going on the road, which is, again, that's not a place they've had to play a lot. There's just been, it's wild looking at some of these teams that, like LSU played at South Carolina. They also played a neutral site game, but they've been at home a lot. Like, again, I brought up Auburn. Like, there's a couple teams that really have not had to venture too far away from home that often this season. And then you look at it's hard to win on the road. It is. It's hard to win on the road. You've seen that year, like all throughout the year. I mean, hell, it's hard to go into Nashville apparently now too. I don't think Mississippi State is a good football team. I will say I thought Van Buren throwing for 300 yards might have been an even more telling stat. And then another thing too is you brought up the fact they didn't let their foot off the gas for Georgia. Georgia is a team that has given up 2 touchdowns all year in the second half of games going into last week. Mississippi State got 3. So I think they are improving, which is good. I think they're still fighting under Jeff Levy, which is great. I don't see them beating A&M. It's a weird line. 15.5 is a weird line. And, like this is a good spot for Davis Wade Stadium to be Davis Wade Stadium. You know what I mean? Like, and kind of get under the skin of the opposing quarterback and the opposition, the other team. I think A&M wins. It might not be as much of a blowout as they would want.
All right, you convinced me. I'm taking Mississippi State in the full-on upset. This is a game though I wish they had. Like Stone Blanton's been very good for them, but like I wish this is a game I wish they had Jet Johnson and Bookie Watson from last year because they'd be able to slow down Levy and Moss. That run game for A&M is just so good, and I'm going to eat my words probably on Monday. I'm going to say
you are for sure
the upset, but Mississippi. I mean, like A&M may not even pass the ball; they may just run it.
Why would they?
So we'll see. But I feel like Mississippi State's got their come up coming. They're going to win an SEC game this year. I just don't know when it'll be. We'll see. All right, more to come here on Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. More with Chris Marler in just a second, but I want to remind you guys, for NFL and college football fans out there, you can start the season with a big return over at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your live bets, and that is over at FanDuel. And you will get started today with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That is over at FanDuel.com. Download the app. They got all the lines for all the SEC games up there. We're talking about them right now. Those lines subject to change depending on where you're listening to, when you're listening or watching the podcast. But go check them up there right now. We're telling you Oklahoma favored by 1.5 against South Carolina. Mizzou -4.5 against Auburn. You like any of the home favorites, or you like taking the money line on one of the underdogs this weekend? You can do that over at FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app today and get started. It is over at FanDuel.com. All right, continue on here with our buddy Chris Marler, and thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. Check us out throughout this week. We'll have a very special guest on tomorrow's show.
That's kind of messed up, but okay.
Well, a guy that casts checks in the league. So
we have similar athletic backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're from the same state.
Yeah, this guy played in a Super Bowl, so.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's kind of rude, but that's fine.
Yeah. But we'll tell you that is on tomorrow's show. Let's get back into previewing the SEC Week 8 slate of games, Marler. And let's start with 6 p.m. Central on ESPN. Is number 8 LSU at 4-2 Arkansas. LSU a 2.5-point favorite. Sam Pittman saying earlier this week that sounds like Arkansas quarterback Taylor Green is going to go this week. He said he's been practicing, still not 100%, but trending in the positive direction. I even think, look, if Malachi Singleton had to start, I still think Arkansas would give their best shot. It's in Fayetteville at night, and it's a tough place to play. And they obviously are coming off of the big win over Tennessee. LSU coming off a really emotional win against Ole Miss that they needed to turn it on in the last couple minutes in overtime to win. So this one, the last 3 matchups have been decided by 3 points. So that's why that line is sitting right where it is.
And it's gone up. It's like it opened at 1. It's up to 2.5, which is, if that's shocking to you, let me tell you a story about 2022. When's the last time that LSU went into overtime against a former SEC West division rival and won?
Who?
2022 Bama.
Yeah.
I think at least in Death Valley. And then the following week they went on the road, and that was a game where it's like they had everything in front of them. Go win the SEC West, go get to Atlanta and get a chance to compete for the SEC championship game. So they had a chance to put the nail in the coffin for Bama that season, and they did, to their credit. But they went on the road to Arkansas and they won by 3. That was the game where Harold Perkins he had to take over. It was like that whole game was so bizarre because it was like I think he had a bunch of missed fumbles and a recovery and he had the game of his life. Alabama is coming in a couple of weeks. I don't expect them to necessarily look past Arkansas or whoever they have next week. They have a trip to A&M next week. But Arkansas coming off a bye. Sam Pittman, 4-1 or 5-1. I think it's 4-1 against the spread coming off a bye week. This is a really good spot for them. And they're also they got the bye week when they needed it most. Like getting that running back and getting Taylor Green potentially healthy. That's huge for this team. And they are riding a wave of momentum. I wish this was an early game for Arkansas instead of a night game, which sounds weird. But I feel like they would be able to they would have more of a sleepy start for LSU. I think LSU wins this. I think that this is a different LSU team than 2 years ago, and they're going to ride this wave of momentum in a very positive way.
Yeah, it's Jaquindon Jackson. He's still 4th in the SEC in rushing. He's been so good. We talked to our buddy John Neighbors earlier this week, and he said the problem with Jaquindon is he's such a physical, tough runner that like it's almost like he doesn't protect his body, so he gets banged up constantly because it's like he's looking for the contact. Like he lowers his head, like, let me go after this guy. And it's like, dude, just take care of your body. But this to me will be very interesting to see what LSU's interior of their D line looks like because they've been thin there, but no team has really like tried to run it at them. I thought Henry Parrish was going to do that last week with Ole Miss, but they did a good job. Whit Weeks was just everywhere, linebacker for LSU. So this to me feels like one of those kind of games. Does Taylon Green make the big mistake? That's the question. He's had some, prone to throwing some interceptions, a couple turnovers here and there. LSU, on the other hand, man, one of the least sacked teams in the country. That Garrett Nussmeier, they gave up 0 sacks last week against Ole Miss, who was leading the country in sacks. They just do a great job, and we'll see what that secondary looks like for Ole Miss as well.
And by the way, just so we're clear, everyone needs to get to know the name Braden Swinson because that kid is a stud.
Yeah, he's really good. And it sounds like what Danico Slaughter or Miles Danico Slaughter is going to play, but Miles Slusher's not back yet for Arkansas. So we'll see. We'll see on that front. They're going to have some DBs covering those LSU wide receivers because they are going to try to fling it down the field. But Nussmeier coming off not a very accurate week, so maybe does that carry over? We shall see. All right, another game. Let's get into a couple of night games. 7:45 Eastern on the SEC Network. It is 3-3 Kentucky at 3-3 Florida. Kentucky still a road favorite in this one at 1.5. We know Graham Mertz got hurt last weekend. He's done for the season. DJ Lagway is going to be their guy the rest of the year. But this is one where, man, Kentucky's coming off a super disappointing home loss to Vanderbilt where they were heavy favorites and lost. And Florida playing some good football here of late. They lose the overtime game at Tennessee last week. I thought should have went for 2 and gotten the win. But before that, the defense played much better in the win over UCF. I think this is a spot where, we talk about Billy Napier and the tough schedule. This is almost one he has to win this weekend.
I think they will, to be honest. Kentucky's not a good team. Kentucky's not a good team, just flat out. They're really bad offensively. Vandegrift, they are going to come dangerously close if they're not careful of getting a moniker and a stigma of the place where transfer quarterbacks go to die. Because Will Levis was good while he was there. He also led the SEC in interceptions for 2 straight years. Devin Leary did the same. And now you look at what, Vandegrift's been real bad. Real bad. Real bad, to quote our buddy Jimbo Fisher. So we'll see. On the road, Mark Stoops, here's the thing about Mark Stoops. This is a good spot for him because Florida is most likely not going to end the season with a winning record. And that's the teams he feasts off of. But I don't know if you saw that thing going around today from On3 that was like, here's the highest paid coaches. And Mark Stoops is just smack dab in the middle of the top 10 at number 9. Wild, yeah. Because that is not at some point we're going to have to start talking about Mark Stoops. And I love Mark Stoops to death. I think he's a really good coach. This might just be a down year, but at some point we're going to have to start talking about Mark Stoops in the same terms as we do with everyone else, instead of being like, well, he's at Kentucky though. Right. At some point that's got to run out of miles. So I like Florida, man. I like Florida to win this game. It'll be close, but I think they're going to win.
And it's crazy too, because Florida had won for 30 straight years. And then here Kentucky started winning some as of late. I think would have won 3 of the last 4 or something. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited for on the other side to see DJ Lagway. The kid is 5-star all-world talent. It sounds like, the receiving core is starting to get a little bit healthy. Trey Wilson and Aiden Mizell, if he can go out and do his thing against a pretty, really strong defensive up front group for Kentucky, this could be one that unleashes Lagway, and you really start to feel differently about Florida down the stretch going, hey, maybe they might be able to steal one of these tough games. And then you beat Florida State, could be 6 wins for Billy Napier, and he damn sure ain't getting fired if he goes 6-6 with this schedule. So really interesting there. I will say, though, Kentucky, their lone road game this year was the win at Ole Miss. So maybe they're better on the road this year. Maybe they rally the troops and go play inspired football. Not so good at Kroger Field. One more game here, and we won't spend too much time on this, but 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. It'll be 2-4 Ball State at 4-2 Vandy. Vandy, a 26-point favorite. I can't remember the last time Vandy was 26 points over anybody because they've been so bad. But man, what a fun year this has been for Diego Pavia. And I mean, we're talking about hitting the over in win totals, Marla. The
Yeah.
chance of a fifth win already, Vandy.
Yeah, I think the last time they were favored by that much was against Billy Madison, the academic decathlon. So there's that. I like Vandy to win this game. I don't think it's close. I think this is, dude. Like, let's start like the Diego Pavia stories and legacy are like firmly like already entrenched and ingrained. I think from this season, right? Like they are embedded into this season and will live on for a long time. Now let's start having some fun. Like I want to start seeing like the Diego Pavia 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, crazy, Johnny Manziel type moments, because that's the only thing that's missing from his resume. He has been. I compared it the other day to Will Howard when he was at Kansas State, and the reason why is because Will Howard was good for 2 touchdowns and 200 yards in every single game he played when he was at Kansas State. It was just steady Eddie. That's all he did. And that's Diego Pavia. He has 1 turnover this season, or one interception all season long. Good moment for them as they get closer and closer to being bowl eligible. So win this weekend. Don't do anything stupid and get ranked, and then get one more win in your last 5. They got to go 1-4 to get bowl eligible. I love it, man.
How did you say his last name again?
Pavia.
You just said it like 5 different ways.
Oh, did I?
So I'm looking at, okay, we're gonna put this to bed. The New Mexico State pronunciation guide, PAH, P-A-H, in big letters, and then V. So Pavia.
Marinara.
No, that's Pa. You're saying Pa.
Are you saying Pan or Pam?
All right, Pavia. We put it to bed. Don't you dare say Pavia any more time. This isn't a Papa John's, the new Papa John's Pavia. That's what they're gonna have on the menu soon. All right, let's get back to. We'll got 2 more games to preview. Let's get to it right after this. More game previews in just a second, but guys, ever feel like you need a little boost in the bedroom? It is time to stop worrying about your performance and get Hims, so you can feel comfortable and confident knowing you can do what you need to do whenever you're in the mood. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. Just answer a series of questions on their website, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The product mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Here we go. Final segment with our buddy Chris Marler from Locked On Gamecocks, but of course doing his thing with many other ventures he's got going out there, and talking all things college football, SEC football with him. And Marler, we got 2 big games to get into here. Let's start with 3:30 Eastern on ABC. We head to Knoxville, Tennessee, as number 7 Alabama is at number 11 Tennessee, and Bama's been sitting as a favorite all week in this one, a 2.5-point road favorite. Tennessee announcing this week they lost their leading tackler in Keenan Peely for the season. Not a great week to do that, but man, talk about 2 teams where, like, we thought before the season this could be 1 versus 3.
Yeah.
Instead, it's 7 versus 11. Both teams with an early season loss, and really time to hit the panic button for whoever loses this game, because high expectations for both teams. But man, just 2 teams that have not lived up to the hype, I guess, as they've entered SEC play. Alabama with the bad loss to Vanderbilt, and then the close win over South Carolina. Tennessee, just that offense has been stuck in neutral since they've gotten an SEC play.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if it's time to panic for either. Like, this is the last loss that either of them can take. So it's not an elimination game necessarily, but this is whoever loses this game, your back is against the wall, and it's going to be real tough sledding the rest of the year because now you got to get through the rest of the season without a loss if you want any chance of getting into the college football playoff. So, for Bama, I think that the offense has been fine, but it's also they've just done a bad job of there's no focus and attention to detail and killer instinct at all, and there's really no focus for 60 minutes, and it's hard for them to even really put a half together. It seems like for Tennessee, Nico, I was just so high on him coming in, and here's the thing that's scary about the Nico stuff. He's a first-year starter, so I think he's going to be fine. There's moments where he flashes and you see all of it kind of come together and the light come on, but he makes first-year starter mistakes, and that's just something I think it's normal. No matter, even if he sat a year ago and took a year and to learn the offense. The scary part with Nico, when you talk about the ceiling, is it's not a situation where it's like, I'm trying to think of an example. It's not like Nussmeier. Like Nussmeier has no offense, or he has no running game to complement that passing game. With Nico, he's got as many weapons as a Tennessee quarterback has had maybe in the last 20 years. Like the talent they have at receiver, the run game they have as a complement to what they have in the passing game. This is not some situation where it's like, well, he's got to drop back and throw it 60 times a game for, 400 yards if they're going to want to have a chance. Like, they have a great run game. He's got talent everywhere around him. He just hasn't figured out how to put it together. I think that he might have a chance to do that. The thing with Bama is, I don't know, like it starts and stops offensively with Jalen Milroe for sure. They should have two receivers that are coming back from injury this week with Law and Prentice. But if they want to win, the recipe for success, in my opinion, is very simple. And you blitz. That's it. That has been the biggest issue with this defense for at least 2 weeks is they have been stuck in the same crap where they are not blitzing. They're giving whoever is back there like all day to throw, and they got picked apart last week by the Lenore Sellers. So they need to bring some pressure on Nico if they want any chance to keep them from scoring 40, I think, on this weekend.
Yeah, if we're talking about who has a quarterback edge, I mean, you got Milroe, who's literally, preparing for the draft. I mean, he's on the come up, or was on the come up last year, and has been one of the best quarterbacks in the country so far. And then the flip side, it's Nico, who is a freshman, redshirt freshman, who's first-time starter and kind of learning and developing and all this, and think will be awesome down the road. But to me, this is the game where Milroe's supposed to shine. This is the game where he's supposed to show, yes, this is what I've learned being the starter in this game. The only thing that scares me, Marler, is that Alabama run game. Like, where's the run game? I feel like Jam Miller only has 2 games this year where he's got 10 or more touches.
Right.
Like, that to me is like, get him the damn football and run the ball. Like, I don't know why this is so, it's like they're having an identity crisis on what the offense is for Alabama. And Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer, this was supposed to be your strength. I can live with the defense taking a step back because Saban's gone, but that offense this was supposed to be your bread and butter. And it feels like at times, like Milroe's confused. They don't know what they're running. He's getting sacked. And it's like, this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the one thing that I think has been surprising, because I think going into the South Carolina game, the last 2 games combined, Haynes and Miller had a combined 19 carries against Georgia and Vandy. I will say the one benefit for Bama that gives me hope that they're going to win this game is what Vandy and South Carolina did. Other teams can take that as a blueprint and figure out how to beat them. That's not what Tennessee does. Like what Vandy did was they set up their game plan, which was we're going to keep that offense off the field. They can't score if they're not on the field. And kudos to them. It's a great move. That's not what Tennessee does. Tennessee wants to do exactly what, this Bama offense seems to want to do a lot of times, which is want to score and score and score. The other part for Tennessee, if I'm looking for a positive for them, is one, we know Josh Heupel's his offense has had success against Bama. We saw it 2 years ago, even though it's a different Bama team and different Bama coaches. But if you look at the team that's most similar to Tennessee, the way they run their offensive, strategy and schematically, it's USF. And while that was a 42-16 final, it was 21-16 with 6 minutes left in the fourth. So let's not kid ourselves. Like if USF can do it, imagine what Tennessee can do with those athletes they have there.
Yeah, the only thing I think that's not working in Bama's favor is Bama's third to last in rushing yards allowed per game. Tennessee leads the SEC in rushing at 246. So Dylan Sampson can be a problem. And then on top of it, we've seen at times Bama struggle with the mobile quarterback. Nico can tuck and run when he wants. So, if there's times where he pulls it down and runs for 10 yards, it's a first down. It keeps the chains moving. That could be a problem as well. I don't know, man. I keep going back and forth. If this were in Tuscaloosa, I'd be all on Bama. The fact it's in Knoxville, I don't know. Weird stuff can happen.
Yeah, we'll see. I got Tennessee to win.
You got Tennessee.
I said it since the summer. Like I just this is a tough spot for Bama to go into. I feel better about it than I did this summer. But we'll see. This is a team that struggled on the road for a while now. You saw them against Vanderbilt. And what I've seen the last couple weeks is that they don't have an identity and they don't have a leader who can make a decision. Like it's like everyone else is looking around for someone else to make a play.
Yeah. Well, I'll take poor old Bama. They just, they stink. I guess I'll go with those guys.
Yeah, they're terrible.
To win at Tennessee. All right. The other game, 6:30 Central on ABC. It's number 5 Georgia at number 1 Texas. Texas. Depending on where you're looking, FanDuel's got them as a 4.5-point favorite. I've seen some lines have even gone up to 5. Texas -5. It does sound like Isaiah Bond is expected to go at wide receiver. He was banged up last week. And then news coming out, Georgia will be without their all SEC linebacker Smile Munden, still dealing with that foot issue. So this one to me, Marler, it just feels like this is one that Georgia cannot afford another loss in this spot. They got to go find a way to win it. I've been saying all week, I feel like this is the best quarterback Texas will face all year. It's not that Texas hasn't been tested, but they haven't been tested much. Their test at Michigan was a good win, but Michigan was putting you and I out at quarterback that week. They didn't have anybody who could throw the football. So Carson Beck is coming into this game throwing 450 yards last week against Mississippi State. To me, that's going to be Georgia's key to a victory. He's going to have to throw it and throw it a bunch.
What was Michigan's offensive rank? What is their national rank for offensive yards per game?
Well, they've run the football a lot since then, so I'm sure it's gone up there.
What is it?
It's probably high.
119.
Oh, is it really? Their total
Texas has not faced an offense that ranks in the top 66 nationally.
Wow.
In yards per game. And that's not like the metric that's end all be all by any means at this point in this age of football. But when you haven't faced anyone that ranks inside the top 66, the highest one they face is I think 67 overall. You've 3 of the 6 teams you faced rank 119th or worse in the country, which is not good. I think this is the game that Kirby Smart says, listen, everyone is counting us out, even though that's not really true, but everyone's counting us out. We are like, this was supposed to be Georgia's season of like, Saban's gone. We have run this conference for the last however many years. We've been the premier program in the country. We were 3 points short from a three-peat a year ago. We went on the road. We played a bad 30 minutes of football, but if we play like we played in that final 30 minutes in Tuscaloosa, nobody in the country can beat us. And now you get a national stage where everyone's going to be watching you. I think Georgia wins this game by 10-plus points. Like, I think this is a statement game for Georgia and Kirby Smart. And maybe I'm just too high on everything that goes on in the 4 walls that he's involved in. Maybe it's because I've seen too many of his or heard too many of his leaked, pregame speeches. I love Steve Sarkisian. I love what he's done so far at Texas. They're also the ones that are playing with so much less pressure. Yeah. Like, and the motto for Georgia over the last several years, pressure is a privilege, man. Like that team has to win this game, and I think they will win this game. And it's really not even a negative indictment on Texas. I just think Georgia has to have it. And in the moments we've seen Georgia be desperate and needy and greedy and all the above, Georgia has risen, up to the occasion seemingly almost every time. So I like Georgia to win this game. Everybody in the SEC has been humbled at least once already. It's time Texas, the Grim Reaper's knocking on the door. He's coming to take his toll. You're going to be disappointed at some point. It might as well be this week. But look, for our Texas fans out there, I don't want this to come across as we're not hating on Texas. Nobody's look, if you win this game. These are factual statements. If you're too insecure with your own like identity to understand that you haven't played anybody yet. I mean, like,
Right.
listen, Texas is a good football team. They are
You know
going
what-
to play
You
in
know
the
what their
playoffs.
best win is, Zach? Honestly, it's Louisiana Monroe. They're 5-1. Their one loss was at Texas. But that's not good to be saying midseason that your best win is
Not at all.
against General Booty. Like, come on.
No, it's not. I got told from the missus we got to wrap up. So
Their schedule has been General Booty. How about that? All right. That is going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Marler, thanks for joining us. We'll do it again next week.
that was good. That was really good.
All right. Well, more to come here on Locked On SEC. Tomorrow, we're going to have a special guest join us. You want to make sure you check that out. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out. And hey, for your second listen, you can check out Marler doing Locked On Gamecocks. You can check out all our other guys. Jonathan Davis does a great job at Locked On Longhorns. Of course, Locked On Bulldogs with Clint and Daniel and those guys. So great podcast all along the Locked On Podcast Network, talking all things SEC football. Talk to you guys tomorrow.